Hello, everybody. Today is Wednesday, the 19th of January. I am Mr. Brown, and I hope you are all very well today. The Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 4, Discussion. Chapter 4 dropped today, and thank God it was slightly better than last week's offering. I think we should get the guests out. Let's not mess about. Let's just get on with it. Okay, so set your Jedi Power Wands to stunning and brave, your Photoshop automations to full power. The ex #1 Star Wars fan north of the border, we have the wonderful, not Brian Young. Hello, Brian.
Evening, Brun. How are you doing? Evening chat. How's things?
Yeah, not too bad. Are you okay, my friend? Thank you for the production. Amazing. Thank you.
Not at all. Not at all. You're very welcome. I'm a bit slightly windswept and not too interesting this evening, but otherwise okay.
Looking forward to this.
Slightly more than I have been the last few weeks.
I watched the full episode, so it must be slightly better. So shall we get the next guest out?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. When you need a protocol droid at your rear, ask Uncle Owen. It's Z3PO.
Oh, Master Brown. Us reviewers
Can you hear me?
Yes, I absolutely can.
Yes. You're right, pal.
I am. It looks like we've made to suffer. It's our lot in life. And I've just come in from reviewing this week's Case Files of Boba Fett, Tatooine's least interesting community outreach officer, in episode 4, Backfill Stories from the Bacta Tank.
And it doesn't get any better because you've got to come on here. So tough times, my friend.
Oh no, whatever will I do? I think we should get the next guest on, sir.
I think we should. Next, we have a man. With one of the finest sounding voices on YouTube and a big Star Wars fan to boot. It's Lost Chord.
Hello there.
Hello there.
I
Hello,
know
my friend.
That you presumed my gender, and I don't think that's allowed these days.
On this channel, it is.
It's a Wednesday night anyway, so I am a man tonight, so it's all good. How are you?
I'm transitioning. You good, Jess?
Transitioning. Well, I'm better than that episode was, so yes, I'm reasonably good.
You're a massive Star Wars fan, aren't you?
I am, which is why I'm now drinking away my sorrows.
You a Guardian reader?
In the sense, well, yeah, I think it's quite important to know what everybody I don't like thinks. So yes, I read the Guardian quite often. It's a fantastic source of material for my channel.
Normally at this time, we have about 32,000 people viewing, but because the episodes are so shite, we've got 1,000 people watching. Anyway, shall we get the next guest out?
Sounds good to me.
Here he is. We forced him to watch this week's episode. The wise elder of the channel, the writer, the portal director, paid-up member of the Selfridges Appreciation Society. He's a glutton for punishments. It's Ian David Diaz. Hello, Ian.
Hi, how you doing? All right?
Well, good. Are you?
Yeah, well, kind of, after watching this episode. What a waste of my time, really. Anyway, we'll talk about it, okay?
It was better than last week's, but only marginally, wasn't it?
So, yeah, one big problem with this one, but we'll come to it, I guess.
Only one problem.
Well, I was being nice.
That's fighting talk. That is okay. We'll do a little news item before we do the review because this popped up today. Coincidentally, hello, Wookie Fever. Just let me alter my graphics.
I was hoping you'd be mysterious, he says.
It's bad when the Guardian start having a go, isn't it? I briefly read the article and they are kind of saying what we're saying. We want Boba Fett to kick ass, and it's just Boba Fett by committee.
Yeah, but he knew that, didn't he? You see that interview that they did with him. He knew, he was saying the things that we were saying, like Boba Fett should be mysterious, shouldn't talk so much, blah blah blah, and that's what he wanted to do. But Favreau had different ideas, right?
Yeah, I mean, he wanted a lot of his lines transferred over to Fennec Shand, which is understandable because Tamora Morrison seems to understand the character Boba Fett better than we thought.
Yep, I agree.
And
why does this keep happening, by the way? Because this is not the first time just in the last few weeks when you've had an actor come out and it turns out that the actor has had some fantastic ideas for the character that they're playing that the writers have not either thought of themselves or adopted. I mean, there was one with The Witcher Series 2 with the death of the horse, which the writer wanted to play as a joke, and Henry Cavill said, no, I think this needs to be serious. Why don't we just get actors writing their own parts at this point, given that writers seem to be so completely incapable of doing it themselves?
Because they're not in charge and they got this remit running through it and they have to comply.
Committee, yes.
That Guardian article was written by Chris Edwards, who I've seen on Twitter with some decent opinions. From his handle is at CineWipe.
Maybe we should try and get him on.
Why not?
CineWipe ass.
Not that I'm a fan of The Guardian in any way, shape, or form, but I was surprised to see it was his name that was attached to the article.
If I remember rightly, they even had to go at Picard several months ago. Or was it last year?
Really? Quite right too.
They did something. I think they had to go at The Matrix as well. I saw the headline on The Matrix Resurrections, and I thought, well, maybe the film isn't going to be as bad as everyone thinks it is in that case. But then it turns out it genuinely was, and The Guardian was right about it. Sometimes we do have these remarkable outbreaks of unity where everyone can agree that something we just had chucked onto our screens is complete garbage. And
even The Guardian. So, has anybody got anything else to add to this? No,
not really. Other than it was quite interesting to hear Tamara Morrison's take on the character, and he clearly, as you said, understands it better than these guys do.
Yeah, do you think
Disney are going to have having him as the main character, so they have to have the main character talking. They've done away with just about every bit of mystery that's going, and George Lucas, to be fair, took away a fair bit of that with the Django story and Attack of the Clones. But not to the degree that this. At least he was consistent with the character.
There was one interesting, sorry, just very quickly, one other interesting thing that I thought came out of that clip of the interview that I've seen anyway. And he was saying he was trying to get hold of Jon Favreau to say, or to voice the opinions as we've just laid out. And one of the reasons that he couldn't speak to Jon Favreau about it is that Jon Favreau wasn't actually on set. He disappeared off to Los Angeles, which sort of makes you wonder how hands-on is he in this series anymore?
Well, I don't think he directed this week's episode, but he's directed a few of them, hasn't he? I know that he's the principal writer, but yeah, you might be correct actually. That he might not be around.
Strange.
Yeah.
Surely Favreau has a phone on his wage.
You would think.
I'm just totally speechless. The life is just sucking out of all of us over this, isn't it? You can just feel it draining.
No, you're giving this too much credence. It's not doing anything for me. I just don't care anymore.
Yeah,
it's rubbish. I'm only here. I only watched it because you wanted me on here. I mean, if I had the choice, I wouldn't be watching this at all. It's absolute nonsense. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, this is true. That I am watching it under duress. It's absolute rubbish. This episode was mediocre at best. Why should I, lend my time to this when they have no respect for the fans, and they just want to do what they want to do and push their woke rubbish in? And fine. I don't want to watch stuff like this anymore. I'd rather watch Herbie 1. Do you know what I mean? So anyway.
I thought you said herpes then.
Herbie 1.
Herpes would also be preferable.
That too.
It can be arranged. Okay, so we'll move to the review. Okay, so again, thank you to Brian for doing the production. Okay, Chapter 4, Gathering Storm. Boba Fett partners with Fennec Shandy directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, written by John. Yeah.
No, was it? No, I had a different.
Well, according to Internet Movie Database.
No, he didn't. She didn't direct this one.
Oh, okay.
Different name at the ending. As far as I remember.
Yeah. When I was typing that in, I thought, okay, that'll look right. But
they got made a mistake on IMDb.
Written by Jon Favreau, George Lucas, based on characters created, blah blah blah. Tamura Morrison, Boba Fett, Meng Na Wen, Fennec Shand, Stephen Toast, 8D8, Kerry Jones as Black Krasden.
Is that how it's spelled? I always pronounced it croissant because I didn't know how to actually pronounce it.
French pastry.
Yeah, just black croissant.
Is that the big Wookiee?
That's the big Wookiee.
Okay.
Land chrysanthemum.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll start off with the comments. Wookiee Fever, blah, 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 1969, screw Disney and stock up on food and beer and booze. Okay. And it's going to be a great stream because we've already got the bots in. Can you believe it? Get rid of him. There you go.
Oh, the bots. I thought you said the boxing. I was like, what are you talking about boxing? I know there's only boxing in this.
I think
we should ask one of the bots to pitch us an episode for the Book of Boba Fett because they would probably do a better job.
Yeah.
This episode was directed by Kevin Tansharoan.
There you go. It wasn't directed by Bryce Howard because it wasn't directed by her. She's in that stupid 355 film, isn't she? Is it 355 or 5 to 4, whatever that film's called, with those stupid women kicking ass.
Do you know? I think it'd be more interesting talking about that. But there you go. Yeah. Okay, so right, let's just pile through these slides. Gathering Storm. Oh, look, he's in the back to tank.
This was so depressing. Normally, at least there's 5 minutes of footage before he climbs into it. And here, it was just, as soon as it opens, he's in the back to tank. And I'm bored of it. There's one sort of salutary bit which comes later on when he says, "You're fully healed now, Boba Fett," which I assume means we don't have to put up with this shit anymore.
Thank a collective sigh of relief.
He'll probably get himself injured and end up back in there somehow. But
they've run out of flashbacks, I think. I mean, they've reused 2 of them twice.
Yeah.
I thought the back to tank scene might have suited the Vader, the Kenobi series better if they're going to have Hayden Christensen in it, because it's already been established that he is going to be in the back to tank until at least episode 4.
I'm not going to be watching that shit either. It's going to be crap. Do you know what I mean? And then Darth Vader's going to fight him again. It's like, well, how does that make sense to the Star Wars canon?
See, if it was only just crap, Ian, I think I'll be able to handle it, but I've got a horrible feeling it's going to be retcon after retcon.
Yeah.
And just an embarrassment, I think.
Oh, it's bad when what you're hoping for is just crap.
Yeah, so that's where we are at the moment. Disney Star Wars.
They will retcon, because there's that bit in A New Hope when Darth Vader is strolling around in the Death Star and says, "I've sensed something, a presence I've not felt in," and he tails off. So I'm assuming after the Obi-Wan series, they'll just fill in that with dialogue. A presence I've not felt since 5 minutes ago when I last fought the guy.
A week last Tuesday.
Yeah.
As opposed to see you.
I think his talky thing in his mask ran out of batteries. That's why he stopped, I think.
Oh my God. This opening scene with Tamura Morrison mastering the smug, self-entitled smell the fart look once again in the most obvious studio setup in this opening. There were so many nice clear lines that you can see around him. It's almost like the effects artist had forgotten that they're on a roasting hot desert planet with twin suns. It just looked far too crisp and clean.
Again, I will say this. Why is he riding a bantha? The bantha walks as slow as a tortoise. He has to cross through a desert. He could walk faster than that thing. It makes no sense whatsoever. Really.
Well, but Ian, you're forgetting their dung tastes like doner kebabs. So
okay. It's just ridiculous. The thing is just ridiculous. Oh, never mind. Anyway, let's just throw logic out the window on this one.
Okay, so he's in the back to tank. He's doing his dreaming, and he's kind of going back to after last week's episode, isn't he? Where the biker gang or whatever. It was wiped out all the Tuscans, isn't it?
No, this is a flashback to. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right, isn't you're right.
Yeah.
Which was honestly one of the most ridiculous. We have spent more than half of this series on flashbacks with the Tusken Raiders, and a conventional payoff would have been okay. He's forming an alliance, and at some point at the end of the series, this alliance will come good, and somehow they'll come and bail him out of a tricky situation. They're all dead. Literally, what was the point in this entire extended sequence across the last 4 episodes of him doing dances with Tuskens? Why? They're all dead now. What? Why could you not have done the same thing, establish exactly what you've established with those sequences, which is to say nothing, in 5 minutes at the beginning of the first episode without any of this crap, and actually got on with telling a story? Why do all of that then just to kill them off? Oh, that's finished now.
It seems to be that they're, well, I don't know, I'm going by Twitter here, so you know how much of a skewed viewpoint that is, but it seems to be they're quite keen to get rid of a harmful trope, and that trope seemingly being how the Sand People are portrayed. Instead of simply being mindless monsters that they were supposed to be in the original trilogy, certain people see this through a very strange lens and see it as a kind of allegory towards possibly Arabian people. So they want to change that.
It's one of those great things where they look at Tusken Raiders and say, that reminds me of an Arab, and then accuse other people of being racist. Like, if you look at a Tusken Raider and you say, I think that's an Arab, you're being the racist in this situation, not the other people. Most of us just saw Tusken Raiders and thought they were Tusken Raiders.
In the chat, Wookie Fever 1969, Disney destroys every IP they purchase, including their own classics, for fuck's sake. They're also destroying this stream indirectly. It's like pulling teeth, isn't it?
Yes.
Moving on. Okay, so he's at the Palace of Jabba or Fennec. What's the it's not Jabba, is it? It's the guy
Fortuna is currently in power for not
scouting the place out so he can see if he can take back his ship. And we'll get to that later, shall we?
Yes, interesting point about the ship. Was he having a meal in the deserts?
Yeah.
Answers one of the burning questions about this series, which is, what do banthas eat? It's one of those questions that all fans everywhere were dying to see answered, and we finally got it answered. We now know that banthas eat meat. I'm happy that the series has filled in this incredibly useful piece of lore.
In the chat, Russian guy of I can't pronounce that. Guyevich. Forgive me. Doomcock's latest video gives me hope on the Disney front, but as they say in Warhammer, hope is the first step on the road to disappointment. Wow. Wow. Thank you. Okay, so the bantha is having some roasted meat, and then it goes, the lights are out.
And then in the desolation of Tatooine, he chances across the lifeless body of Fennec Shand lying face down in the sand, badly shot up, left for dead, but somehow still with us and only about...
Oh, is that what that is?
Well, if you go to the previous slide, I don't know if he did chance upon it. He's seeing some fireworks in the background, and I'm assuming that he goes towards that because of it.
Yeah, it's the flare from the episode of The Mandalorian where they're racing toward her on the speeder bikes and launching the flares, and that's one of the things that he sees.
Did he not have any sparklers with him? So that, with the fireworks. Go down there.
I don't think they have bonfire nights on Tatooine.
Yeah, should bonfire the freaking rushes. That's what they should have done.
Okay, so all the lights go out, and then he's got the body, hasn't he? He goes to this mech shop or whatever it is.
Why does he save her?
Good question. Why? Who is this man, and what has he done with Boba Fett?
Sucker for a pretty face.
Well, it's dark. Can you see her face? No, it's ridiculous. There's no rhyme or reason why he saved her. He just saved her. It's like, well, why. I guess you can put it to like, I got taught by the Tusken Raiders. Now I'm more human. Now I don't feel like bounty hunting anymore. I feel like saving people. It's all bollocks. It's the Disney.
I think that's part of it. The other part of it is, I think, that he's trying to save her because he knows who she is and could be an ally.
Which also makes no sense because he describes her as a master assassin, and I sort of assumed that one of the point of being an assassin is that you're not instantly recognizable. Doesn't that defeat the object of being an assassin?
Mm-hmm. Well, Fennec Shand does tend to keep her helmet on, quite the opposite of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Thankfully, in the middle of this desert, there's got a Cyberpunk 2077 NPC who can do cut and shuts. Otherwise, she would have been fucked, wouldn't she?
That's right.
What are the chances? This one's for Rob. What are the chances of that?
In this settlement here, are they saying that there's just this one building where this guy is? There's no medics of any kind?
Just moving on.
Yeah, but she was dead, wasn't she? Because he comes in and, or was she still alive? I can't. Almost dead.
Almost. Yeah.
He rebuilds her stomach or something like that, doesn't he?
Yeah. I think it's a miracle that Disney have allowed, Disney/Lucasfilm have allowed a male character to save a female character.
Ooh.
Well, it makes a change because she saves him every week.
Yeah.
Brian,
again, can I just say, for the fourth week in a row, they do the "do you have an appointment" thing again. For Christ's sake, get some new fucking material, Favreau, you unoriginal algorithm adhering hack.
And also another thing that really pisses me off with this image here, you can tell she's holding her head up. She's meant to be completely out, yet she's holding her head up. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Good point.
Anyway.
Moving on.
Man with dreadlocks has to be in there.
Blonde.
Black guy with dreadlocks.
Blonde dreadlocks as well. It's another. There are some really bizarre design choices made in this series. Star Wars has always had this very consistent aesthetic, and most famously, that was completely broken by those stupid Fisher-Price speeder bikes that we saw last time. But you don't tend to get blonde dreadlocks in Star Wars either. It's too bright and clean and artificial. Everything is supposed to be grubby and hand-me-down. It's just a very odd aesthetic decision that they've made here.
And you don't get accents either, like, right, mate. Yeah, well done, mate, and all that rubbish. Why?
Russian guy
far away.
He has Lilo hair.
Just going back to the designs there, one thing I noticed about them, I've got all the Art of books, which shows you the kind of rejected design.
Nice.
Quite decent stuff in there, but you can see the ones that George Lucas has picked in his specific aesthetic. Lost Cord just said there, and all of these look like the rejects ones. And it's happening time and time again.
They look like the rejects of the rejects.
This is like it's written by a 5-year-old. This episode.
Committee.
Yeah, then he's on the big elephant thing. Then he finds a girl. Then he decides to save her. Then he takes her to this place. Then they repair her. Then he says, "Help me." Then she says, "Okay, I'll help you." You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. The script is absolutely ridiculous. Sorry?
Like a computer game. In fact, there's one bit later on. It's very Arkham Asylum. We'll get to that in a minute. I'll point it out.
While I was taking the notes for this Internet Movie Database, the average mark for this episode, 8 out of 10.
Bollocks.
I mean, the only people who'd actually reviewed it at that point were the people who wrote it.
When I did the first watch of this, at this point, I was like, Fennec Shand.
You've watched it twice?
Assassin. A woman barely alive. Gentlemen, we can
rebuild her.
We have the technology. We have the capability to make the world's first bionic assassin.
What's interesting about this episode is that we have a black guy that has an English accent. It's not going to take them long to have a black guy in here to have a Jamaican accent soon. I bet you.
Would the Jamaican eat chicken as well?
Probably will. Or
would it be Jerk
Panther?
Jerk Panther.
Panther, yeah.
So there's Agent May. She's having a innards rebuilt. And then is that her coming around?
Yes.
This episode, most of it was in the dark.
I didn't think she was half robot, half human. And now we know, I guess.
It was already revealed in The Mandalorian.
Oh, was it? I probably forgot that.
It's funny. The first thing I thought about when I saw this little scene, I thought I could just hear some Twitterati saying, Boba didn't ask for consent, and that's a problem. Somebody will come out with that shortly, I bet.
Well, I found a picture of Agent May in the Leia slave costume.
Oh yeah, very good.
I'm waiting for people to actually tell me off, but no one's told me off so far. It's good.
Is that legitimate, or is that a Photoshop?
Double standards.
No, it's legitimate. I think she was at some kind of Comic-Con thing. It's definitely her.
Right.
She's not bad for pushing 60. I'll give her that.
Yeah, she looks great.
Okay, so this is the big speech about you owe me and all this stuff, and how do I repay the debts? And I think the Bantha is going to be let loose. Go, girl, you're free. I think.
God, it's so bad, isn't it?
Yeah, so to repay the debts, they're going to do the palace and get... What's the name of the starship, Brian?
Slave One.
Slave One.
Well, Boba doesn't know that in this episode. In this episode, even Boba doesn't know what that's called. He knows its technical name.
In previous scene, he refers to it as fire spray.
And he's right. It is a fire spray gunship, but you'd think he'd know the name of his own ship.
I mean, that's like calling the Millennium Falcon or Corellian Freighter.
The only I know why they've done it, but the only thing I could say in defense of that is that unless Fennec Shand knows it's called Slave One, it would kind of make sense for her for Fett to say either ship or gunship, and they've just stuck fire spray. And I could see how it would make sense that way, but then again, they've written the script and they've possibly written it so they could do it that way. You know why they're doing it, really.
How ludicrous was it that she sent that little ball in with red lights on it?
I thought that straight away. Yeah.
If you're going to send something in, you wouldn't have it lit up, would you? Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. The whole thing's just ridiculous.
Friend of the channel, Rayal Honis. Hello, my friend. Book of Boba Fett. Let's make it lame.
So apparently Disney is uncomfortable with the name Slave One being associated with one of their most popular Star Wars characters, and the term slave. You know, like conveniently forgetting that both Shmi and Anakin were both slaves.
And Boba was a slave earlier in this episode, in this series of the Tusken Raiders.
So hold on. So why have they got a problem with the word slave?
Because it's negative connotations. I mean, I don't know why Disney has an issue with the word slave. Maybe Walt owned a few back in the day. Who am I to say? I wasn't there at the time.
It has negative connotations, but everything has. There's loads of stuff in Disney stuff that has negative connotations. It's ridiculous. Why single out this one?
That's true. Like stormtroopers, for example. Anything that's deemed slightly problematic has to be looked upon.
But it's very safe to make references to anything vaguely Nazi, because everyone knows they're bad. But Disney will stray away from anything even remotely controversial. I mean, it will call Chinese concentration camps re-education centers, for instance. It's not new for Disney to do this. And then it will thank the regional administrators of those camps for letting them film Mulan. But no, they
do a form for turning villains into good guys, don't they? I suppose so that's consistent.
But you know what, right? What's happened to Disney? When I was a kid, I used to love Disney. I used to watching Disney Time and BBC One. You know, it was part of my childhood. Now I don't even know what Disney is now. It's some kind of monster that's chewing up everything that we like and destroying it. It's really horrible, isn't it? You know, God, I was only watching Aladdin today because I was so bored, and I watched the whole thing. The cartoon Aladdin, because it was so enjoyable. I started watching 5 minutes of it, and I just ended up watching all of it. And that's when Disney was Disney, I guess.
Gone are the days of Esna, sadly.
Just anyway, I don't know.
Anyway,
there was a bit just before this when I think it's just before this when they're sitting there in the desert and they're having their conversation. And if I recall, this is the bit where Boba is he's laying out his new philosophy about how, think of how many lives could be saved is one of his lines.
Yeah.
And loyalty is important, and we shouldn't work for anybody who's incompetent. We need to save people's lives. We need to rule with respect. And none of this does not make any sense. You've had half of the entire series has been dedicated to backstory, including this segment of the show. And yet this most consequential change in the character of Boba Fett is never explained from the beginning when he saves the Tusken child's life, or at least doesn't kill him. We've already had this massive personality transplant. Of all the things that actually need to be explained by this kind of this kind of retrospective, that's one of them. But there's no character development here. It's just he's crawled out of the Sarlacc and all of a sudden he is a new man. And the whole thing is just, it's like they're using Boba Fett solely for the name recognition. They wanted to write a story like this. They couldn't create their own character with which to do it. So they had to just pull someone literally out of the desert in order to fulfill this function. But there's no explanation. This entire sequence makes no sense, especially when you then get a cutaway to him shooting Bib Fortuna in the head, which happens later on, which is not exactly about saving lives, is it?
You're absolutely right. There's no backstory. There's no decent backstory to see why he changed his attitude, why he became this character. If something drastic happened to him, something that actually made him come to that conclusion that he should be a good guy rather than a bad guy. But there is nothing. They hint at the Tusken Raiders changing him, but that story was not enough to change him, and none, as you point out, none of it makes any sense. Could have ran away, but went back to the place where they were torturing him.
Went back to the tank.
Yeah, it's just bad story writing. He went to the desert, he saved the kid, he goes back. It's just like a 5-year-old wrote it. Do you know what I mean? It's just crap.
Mom Productions, hello, mate. We need a Ray cameo.
No, we don't.
That's the one thing that could actually make this series worse. No,
we don't.
I think the cathartic moment is supposed to be him almost dying in the Sarlacc and then being re-educated almost by the Tusken Raiders. So he's supposed to realize that there must be a better way to make money than working for tyrants and idiots, right?
Yeah.
No, that doesn't make any sense.
No, let me finish. I'll tell you. But the trouble is, when he fell into the Sarlacc, he wasn't on any mission. He was just a bystander that got involved. So it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, he was hired. I was Jabba the Hutt's lackey, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He died in an attempt to ruthlessly murder his employer's enemies. But also, I accept that that's what they attempt to show. The problem is that from one of the earliest scenes in the Tusken Raider flashbacks is when he is already being tied up and beaten and is being held as a slave, and he goes to escape and he overpowers the Tusken child, and rather than bludgeoning the child in the head, which is what he really should have done, he holds himself back. So the personality change has actually preceded the events which are being attributed as the cause for that personality change. So no, I take the point, and that's a competently written show would have used the Tusken sequence to establish this change of character, but it is not a competently written series, and so it didn't.
I don't know why they just didn't have him coming out the Sarlacc pit straight away and just have it in chronological order instead of doing flashbacks. I think it would have been easier on the eye and the story, and we could have kind of understood that moment of, I don't know, maybe spiritualism with the Sand People. I don't know, but because they're going backwards and forwards.
You've got
let's face it, they killed the show by casting this guy and also making Boba Fett talk a lot and take his mask off. The show was dead before it even started. So it's not going to get any better, is it?
I don't necessarily mind the mask thing, because if you look at old westerns, so anything with Clint Eastwood in it, for instance, there's no masks involved in order to establish the mystery and the threat and the menace of his character whenever he's playing a villain. But the dialogue is a really important point, because he virtually never speaks. And in any competently written old western, the villain ideally will not speak at all, or at least very, very little. So I don't necessarily mind that they've demasked him. The problem, as he identified himself, is that he speaks far
too much.
Often.
Yeah.
But I mean, I quite agree about the point about they've got 6 episodes. They're not particularly long. You've got 2 principal questions, and you can only realistically answer one of them. Those 2 questions are: 1, what was Boba up to? How did he escape the Sarlacc, and what did he do then? Or 2, what's he doing after what we last saw of the Mandalorian? You can't cram both timelines into a 6-episode series and do either one of these justice. Either one of them could have been done justice if you'd given that timeline an entire 6-episode run. But because they're not doing that, they've split their time completely between the 2. As you say, it's completely disjointed. And there is no time to actually establish yourself in either one of these timelines. And they're necessarily trading off against each other. So the premise was flawed. And it's a real shame because you could have done interesting things with either of those timelines.
Well, you say they can't do it, but they did it.
Yeah. At the same time, they seem to manage to kind of shoehorn some boring filler into it, which is quite incredible considering the few number of episodes there is.
Yeah, it's true.
With what Lost Quarters just said, they should have just done this chronologically.
They shouldn't have. They should cost someone else.
Yeah, from when he got out the Sarlacc pit, and let's just do its natural progression of the story instead of just popping in the back to tank every 5 seconds.
Do you know what, right? Boba Fett, right? Even though I agree with what everybody's saying, Boba Fett is successful because of the way he looks, the costume. He made a great toy. He made a great villain. And it's his look that sold everyone in Boba Fett. Even before he started Empire Strikes Back, people just loved his look. Yeah. And to actually have Boba Fett without his costume in certain segments, it's just kind of, it's not Boba Fett, it's some fat guy with a ball head. That's what it is. It's just not Boba Fett.
Okay, so back to the story. He's in the, they're doing the raid to get the spaceship back, aren't they?
all very excited, aren't we?
Yeah. You actually went past one of the bits I was going to show you, the computer game thing. See when she breaks in, that's very much she breaks into the kind of metal rail and she cuts through it. That's almost exactly the same as one of the things you have to do in Arkham Asylum.
Yes.
Okay.
It looks the actual graphics used look so like it.
It does. Did you spot the robot?
Yeah,
the protocol droid, are you not? That one. Yeah, that one was in it, wasn't he?
Yeah, same EV model, similar to EV-99. It was played by Mark Hamill in Return of the Jedi, and the other one with the weird ears, that's a LEP series service droid from the Clone Wars.
Wow,
which was a
rat catcher.
One with the pointy triangular ears and the
rat
long
catcher.
Neck.
Yeah.
So it's good to see one of those again.
So they have rats then in Star Wars universe.
Well,
Kathleen Kennedy,
kind of more like servant droids, really.
It turned itself off, didn't it?
It makes you wonder what Boba Fett's actually done to droids in the past to earn him that reputation.
Yeah, he goes, "I'm Boba Fett," and then he just deactivated himself.
Maybe he's really boring.
Why did he say to him, "I'm Boba Fett"?
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Shite. Even I knew that was
cringeworthy.
Dear, oh dear.
Okay. And I can't see that. Is that the Starship?
Just going back a bit, I mean, couldn't they not have had him go in there and kill a couple of, whoever's, thingy's guards or stuff instead of running around chasing this stupid
just for the hell of it,
robot? Yes. Oh dear, oh dear.
And that, after all, is what we want to see. They want. They try and insert these bizarre fan service things, but the one thing that the fans actually want to see is Boba Fett being a badass, and it's the one thing we do not get.
No,
at every opportunity it has, including one that's coming up, when Fennec Shand actually saves the whole ship from the enemies. The very thing we actually want to see happen is the very thing that the show is so keen to avoid.
Yeah, you're right.
So I think he's taking the ship, or he's getting the ship. He can't.
Yeah,
a lot of it was shot dark, wasn't it?
Well, it depends how you're watching it, I guess.
Maybe I should turn the brightness up.
Yes, I think you should.
Yeah. I was going to say, this is the bit where he tries to get his ship, doesn't he? And they're all firing at him, and she goes, "Get the ship. I'll take care of the rest," and she does.
In the chats, Mom Productions, Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to rag on the Gamorrean guards for yet another week, but they get beaten down really, really easily.
They do.
I think I could probably take one after a night's drinking.
The reason I included that, just kind of skimmed over it, but the reason I included that slide, the previous one, was how quickly she took him out. I mean, they're supposed to be formidable to a degree, especially the size and strength, and she may be a master assassin, but it's literally a couple of slaps and he's down. Down like a sack of spuds.
Bish, bash, bosh, and you're down. Yeah.
And then
at least Boba fights him with a gaffer stick.
There's a bit coming up when they're in the ship and trying to take off, and for about 5 to 10 seconds, everyone stops shooting at them and just watches the ship take off as she shoots them.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Why are you hired as guards? You are literally useless. And it's also worth remembering as well in this part when he says the gun's jammed, it's broken, it doesn't work. Remember that line, because 5 seconds later he says that the ship's completely fine. And then it's broken again, and then it's fine again. Basically, the episode was bad. It was just distinctly average until this point. I think from this point is when it just becomes farcically bad. Like, none of it doesn't make sense with itself. It can't even keep track of the story it's told 5 minutes ago, never mind the place in the universe it's supposed to be set in.
Fennec Shand is pretty handy with those headshots, isn't she? You can tell she's played a lot of Unreal Tournament.
I don't know. This
ship is doing lots of warnings.
Something uncool about all of this. It should be cool and fun. And
we've got Slave 1 back on the screen for the first time in, well, obviously we've had it in The Mandalorian, but it didn't do very much then. But this is an opportunity for us to see it blow shit up, and it doesn't work. And then Fennec Shand has to save the day again.
Yeah. Whammon. Yeah.
Strong whammon.
Whammon.
So I can't see what's going on, but I don't care. This is the part where do they kind of say, okay, why don't you work for me?
No. He says to her, your debt has been paid. Where do you want me to drop you off? And she says,
I'll stick around.
I'd rather stick around. Something like that, yeah.
Stick around, there's 2 more episodes, dude.
yeah.
3 episodes, I think.
3
upside down smile. Turn that frown into a
3PO backwards.
Yeah.
I do love the noise of Slave 1. That
How does it go?
Is that a fart?
Moving on.
It was as if Ben Burt was in the room there.
And then, ladies and gentlemen, the moments we've sat through for 4 episodes, the moments has arrived where finally we see, would the real Boba Fett please stand up?
Yeah. Having been told 5 seconds earlier that the guns don't work, we are now told that the ship's in good shape, and here it is in good shape, and it's blowing stuff up, which is great, but we are 40 minutes into the episode by this point.
Didn't the Verve sing that? The guns don't work.
Something like that. It wasn't guns.
Guns, no.
It was something that I think I'd have had to take to enjoy this episode as well.
Yeah.
I have to say, this was a really cool shot. You're coming in, you see him coming in from the distance.
Mm-hmm. I was about to say,
the artwork is just brilliant. Sorry, Z.
Boba Fett terminating bad guys who pissed him off with extreme prejudice is what they should have been doing from the first episode. Yes. Not all this fanning about, I want to see this lethal bounty hunter, and for a glimpse, just a glimpse, got what I wanted.
Well, that's all you're getting, pal. So savour it. Stuart Mitchell in the chats. Disney is incapable of original ideas, so fan service and member berries are all they have to work with.
But it's not even good fan service. I didn't care what Banthas ate. That's not important to me. Fan service is this shot here, which is about 30 seconds of a 47-minute episode. We had to wait 4 episodes to get to this point. This is fan service, which I can accept. This is good fan service, not inconsequential crap. What religion do the Tuscans practice? Is there such a thing as Tuscan kata with their bantha sticks? How do they fight people? How do moisture farms work? None of this was really that important. This is the kind of fan service that is acceptable and the show should really be focusing on if it actually wants to. I mean, The Mandalorian, to its credit, I think did this quite well. It's quite a flawed series, but I think it's not without its merits. And one of those merits is that it is actually showing us the world that we've been effectively denied for the better part of, 20 to 30 years. The whole point of The Mandalorian is to put you back into a small-scale story. The point is not to be overly ambitious. It's to show you things that are familiar and to say, oh, I remember that. I remember that from before the sequel trilogy ruined everything. It's deliberate. We've seen ambition. We've had Rian Johnson's vision. Everyone hated that. So let's go back to basics. Keep it simple. Give people what they actually want to see. And this is the first we've had in the Book of Boba Fett of this, and it's also probably going to be the last we've had of it as well. Because it's like, if we've taken 3 and a bit episodes to get to this point, and there's only 2 left. I can't imagine there's a huge amount more time left to show Slave One blowing stuff up, which is I'd be fine with a show based around Slave One blowing stuff up.
Well, so it's a good scene. As I said, there's not enough to save the episode, though.
Yeah,
definitely not. No, especially not what comes afterwards.
Oh, there he goes, farting again. Yeah.
Yep.
Letting out one.
Have that.
Yeah. Smiley face, upside down.
That's what we want.
Pew, 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 pew.
Favreau, this is what we want.
Favreau don't care.
I love this bit, actually. It's kind of took me out.
He's still counting his money from Spider-Man. Sorry, go ahead.
Strange moment of entertainment in a largely bland series.
I do know the painting at the ending looks so the Slave One looks so much better in the painting than it did look in the show, didn't it? Oh, this scene was so stupid. Oh my god!
What? So can I ask, what is the point of revisiting the Sarlacc pit looking for his armor? He crawled out of the pit wearing it.
Exactly.
My God, who writes this stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Where did he
thought
think
that as well?
Does Boba Fett think that the Sarlacc decided to strip him of his armor with its tentacles while he was unconscious?
It makes no sense.
It's not hentai. It doesn't work like that.
It makes no sense, right? And it's just a scene so that they can be in trouble and shoot the thing, and blow it up and show Agent May is far more, industrious than Boba Fett. Stupid ball-headed idiot.
So astoundingly lazy. This is a show that hasn't been paying any attention to itself.
Yeah,
why should we be expected to pay attention to it? We saw Boba climb out of the Sarlacc pit wearing his fucking armor. Why, if the show can't be bothered to keep to its own continuity, it was only 4 episodes ago.
Tentacle pollen.
It's astoundingly bad writing.
It is. Absolutely.
And
I don't understand the logic.
Such a good scene like the last one to transition to this contrived piece of crap really takes you out of the episode.
Why do you try to fly Slave One into the Sarlacc pit? They get out of it with the seismic charge, drop the seismic charge in, then drop down and have a look. Why are you flying a spaceship into a Sarlacc pit?
Because they're stupid. That's why.
I must admit, when I first heard this, I misheard the line that Fennec Shan said when I think it was Boba. She said it's dissolved, and I thought they were talking about the Sarlacc being dead, and I thought maybe that's the reason why they're trying to have a quick look before they do anything else, not realizing that
I thought it was dead.
Probably was going to be active. But
no, she was talking about.
Yeah, he's talking about the Beskar, but I misheard it when he did it. But actually, when he said he's got some unfinished business, and then you see him come up to the Sarlacc, I thought, oh, this is going to be great. He's just going to destroy this for the sake of destroying it because it's fucked him over. And then you find out, like, why the fuck's he going for the armor? It doesn't make any sense. As someone who's hated the Sarlacc since 1983, I have to say I did enjoy the seismic charge going right through it, even though it didn't make any sense narratively.
No, I mean, bearing in mind, the last time we saw a seismic charge, it was blowing up entire asteroid fields. Apparently now it just causes a brief ripple in the sand on Tatooine.
True.
I guess it depends on how powerful it is, I guess. I don't know.
It depends
Not
on the
trying
plot.
To defend it. Yeah, and exactly.
Depends on the plot,
exactly.
what the plot needs it to do. Because otherwise, half the planet's gone.
That picture looks like Iron Man is sinking into the sand, doesn't it? Upside down. Weird.
Russian Guyevich, Hollywood fears the womb, I guess. I think we all do now.
And he still goes down there.
Yeah.
Bloody idiot.
Despite the teeth, he still goes down there.
Yeah.
Oh, and this episode's third camping scene.
So he's got the armor. At least I think he has.
Yeah,
And
camping scene without Sid James. Sorry.
Back in the back tank.
Yeah.
And finally, we get the line, "You're fully healed, so no more excuses for this kind of crap anymore."
Bridget Moore. Way, hello, Bridget. This Disney show can fet off the equivalent of pouring salt in an open wound,
or trying to fly Slave One into it,
much like this stream. Okay, so
he shoots Bib.
Yeah. So we're kind of having like a dreamy bit. And he gets out the back to tank.
I love it when he delivers a line in the previous scene which says, "Power hates a vacuum." And the only thought I had come into my head is, you best not be filling it with your personality then.
Savage.
Anyway, on to Bland Chrysanthemum.
So Black Wookiee pissed off at the bar, pissed up.
Yeah, why did he actually have a fight with them? Why did he pick on them?
They're Trandoshans, aren't they? And the Trandoshans slave Wookiees in the old expanded universe. Though I thought all of that had been retconned, I have to say.
They're what? Careful with language like that.
Oh, God. Lovely trousers. Is that jeans rolled up?
Probably.
It was a bit strange that he just stood there and let it happen.
I mean, God, this scene is so shit. It's ridiculous.
The lightning next sliding. I did it especially for you.
Okay. Where is she? Oh, come on, love. I wouldn't mind if you wanted to sit on my face. Tell you.
All of a sudden, Ian thinks this episode's a masterpiece somehow.
Absolutely.
She's 59.
Gorgeous.
59.
Oh, God, you know what? I don't care what anyone says. This woman is gorgeous.
Can you believe it?
Yeah. Black don't crack. You know what I'm saying? She's gorgeous.
I think she's 60 this year.
She's so lovely.
Well, Twi'leks don't age like everybody else, apparently.
So she's trying to kind of talk the Wookiee down.
Wow, she did her best, didn't she?
It's the bit where the writers thought, "Oh shit, we need backstory for the Wookiee, so quick, exposition via dialogue. You're a champion. You've done this, that, and the other." It's so terrifically lazy. And then she says something like, "His knuckle dusters are more feared than blasters." Except the last time I checked, blasters actually kill people, and his knuckle dusters do not.
Yeah. And they stole those as well. They stole those from Johnny Alpha.
Do you know what? Right, this is really racist. It's a black.
Careful.
Wookiee giving, beating up little guys. You know what I mean? Why is racist, isn't it?
Does it eat jerk chicken though?
Probably. He's probably finished his jerk chicken. That's why he's got a bit of a stomach ache, and that's why he gets angry with the little guys.
So he completely ignores Jennifer Beals and then just rips the thing to bits. Rips his arm off.
Rips his arm off, doesn't he?
Which is obviously we heard the line in A New Hope. Wookiees, if you beat them at games, rip your arms off. So at least that's another bit of the lore we finally had on screen. Not that we needed really to see.
Okay, very good, very good.
If you leave asleep for a second.
Sorry, I'm going back. Sorry, Brian. I always feel like I'm getting told off when you do that. Sorry.
It's a bit of a nitpick of mine when I see, considering some of the films that we've reviewed in the last few weeks that have been really good and exceptional. Just when you look at that shot, it's just silly things like, another inch to the left, and you've got the Boba Fett's jetpack.
That's what she said.
Frame, it all sits nicely, and it's as if they don't give a fuck. I don't know. It's horrible.
No, they don't. And who plays this Wookiee? Is it the same guy who played Chewbacca in the other latest films?
Carey Jones.
Because he's quite tall, isn't he? He's very tall.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And he's a gentleman of colour as well, obviously, because it's a black Wookiee. Got to be a gentleman of colour to play the black Wookiee.
Tick. Excellent.
Yes. So now by me saying that, you can now appreciate this is a very good episode, can't you, Ian?
Oh God, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so they're having a meeting.
Yeah, it says this is the bit where he says pass the salt. Then doesn't he? It's just that guy down there.
Yeah.
Can you pass the salt, please?
Yeah, so they're trying to flesh out a meeting.
What a load of shit.
A deal, yeah.
And the conclusion he comes to makes no sense at all.
No, this is utterly nonsensical. He brings these people in. He says what's the name of the syndicate that's moving in? The Pike Syndicate.
Yeah,
taking
Pikeys.
over.
Yeah, Pikes. Yeah,
and
Pikeys.
So he wants all the people in the room who are the head of various crime families in Tatooine to join him to fight them off. They say no. He says, okay, stay out of it. I'll do it myself. They say, yep, that's all good. And then he goes on afterwards to say that's a better deal than they'll get from the crime syndicate, which is going to offer to pay them off. Like, no, this makes zero sense.
Exactly.
It is an unenforceable agreement. I mean, what reason do any of them have to actually abide by this agreement?
That's
how
right.
can he expect them to? I mean, how can he know if they don't? This is just dumb. He is a stupid man. Why have they made him dumb?
Watching this scene, I really hoped, almost expected, I should have known better. He was going to do something like the Joker did to Rotelli and Batman.
Yeah, I was hoping.
You know, it's going to be someone was going to get it. It's a mild threat from the Rancor, but that was about it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the claws came through the.
And what was the point of that if he just let them all go and with that stupid deal that he made with them, which makes no sense whatsoever.
And in the end, he says, "I have plenty of credits." But again, so this series will occasionally throw in very niche pieces of Star Wars lore, like the Wookiee ripping the arms off. So it's trying to establish itself as being firmly grounded in the minutiae of the things that came before it. I distinctly remember Watto in The Phantom Menace saying, "Republic credits are no good out here, only money." He says he has more credits so he can buy more support. What credits? Imperial credits?
Russian Guyevich in the chat. Boba needs to channel Kevin McKidd's mob boss scene from Rome here. He did not.
Well, the people that write this don't know Star Wars properly, just like the people who write Star Trek. They don't know Star Trek properly either. So, you know, why are we surprised? You know,
in this last scene.
Sorry.
In this last scene, you've
probably
heard the Mandalorian theme going over in the background, which means they're implying that he could well be on the scene shortly.
Okay. I can't pronounce that, but what is Vor-en-Go?
Go Google Translate.
That's probably going to be more interesting than this stream.
Ngo is a Vietnamese surname.
Okay, so as I said before, Ian, get your credit card ready, yeah?
For what?
For the link. Okay, so that was the end of that. And then we...
Look how great that ship looks there in the painting. And look how good that painting looks. Much better than the what happened in the series.
Most of them do. Can you imagine what it would be like if the writers were half as talented as the art department?
It's Mom Productions. Maybe they should get Vince Gilligan to write this. This show should be like Sopranos or Breaking Bad in space. It should be
Don't do that. He's pals with Ryan Johnson. Don't say that.
Oh, okay. Rail even is. Oh, okay. Cheers, Brian. That's a stream killer. Okay, so I will go through the last remaining slides, paragraph from each of you describing this episode. First up, Mega Geek, thoughts?
Well, on the episode, it's just absolute nonsense, isn't it? The paintings are the best thing about this whole episode at the ending. The paintings at the ending. It's just as everyone's pointed out, it's got gaping big holes in it, things that don't make any sense. You know, we don't care about any of the characters. Boba Fett is not a badass. Blah blah blah.
But the main thing, a gentleman of colour played a black Wookiee, so there are good points.
Also,
not Brian.
Gentleman of colour played the guy that repaired. What's the name as well? Didn't he? So yeah, it's two of them.
Yes.
Brian, thoughts?
Like Z, I had 2 watches of this, and on the first watch, I found it to be much more entertaining than last week. Well, it probably wouldn't have been very hard, to be quite honest. But
paint drying would be.
A couple of moments that I really, really enjoyed on the first watch. It wasn't until the second watch that I realised that some of the context didn't really make a whole lot of sense. That this show has still gets so many problems, and I think it misses the charm of the Mandalorian. You know, the Mandalorian has the Baby Yoda dynamic between Baby Yoda and
they did something right,
and it doesn't have anything like that to kind of reel you back in. I don't know what they've done with this. I think it's been just 2 different series put together to try and make one, and it's a bit of a shambles, to say the least.
Yeah, Man Productions, this should be like Dog the Bounty Hunter in space.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it should.
That's a good comment, that, mate. Z.
Well, I mean, it's a bit of an upgrade from last week's episode, but if I'm being honest with you, it's strictly mid, isn't it? I think
it's not much.
I've played adventures with action figures as a 13-year-old kid. Done this episode.
I think
there's been nothing really that stands out of any note at all. It just seems so safe and boring.
Other than the slides at the end.
Yeah, I've got to. The concept art is probably the best thing about the show.
I will say, if we cover this next week, we're just going to do the concept slides at the end and fuck the rest of it. Yeah, because I think I genuinely think it'd be more fun.
Just a 5-minute stream saying the show was rubbish, but look at these lovely pictures. And we'll see you next week.
I'm sure we could bat it out for an hour. Okay, so I think that is everybody apart from Lost Chord. Thoughts?
Oh God. I mean, I've heard a couple of people say it's middling, or at least it's better than last week. I'm honestly not sure that it is. I think it's on a par with last week. It's just it's bad in different ways. And I did a couple of videos on this. I did a preview video and I reviewed the first episode. And in both of those, is that there's a real risk with this series, which is that what we will get is far too much by way of backstory and far too little by way of new story. And that's been proven, I think, to be correct. I made the mistake of being optimistic about this when it was announced, because Jon Favreau, when he does the job, does quite a decent job sometimes. He does at least appreciate aspects of the lore in a way that writers of, say, the sequel trilogy did not. But with this series, it's as though it's been written by somebody else, or at least one different person, as you say, by a committee. It's not even playing it safe. The Mandalorian plays things safe, but it at least makes sense. The plot lines basically hang together. There's a basic underlying competence to that series. And you can tell that the people who are creating it do actually feel some kind of investment in the show that they've created. But with the Book of Boba Fett, you honestly can't say that. I do not watch this series and think the people behind this actually want to make it. And that, to me, is just one of the gravest crimes you can make when you've been given stewardship over one of the most beloved franchises and one of the most beloved characters in that beloved franchise of all of movie history. And you do this, you churn out this pap, and you can't even be bothered to make a single episode cohere, never mind a 6-episode series. It's profoundly depressing.
So, other than those comments, you like the show, yes?
Other than that, it was fine.
My thoughts are it was slightly better than last week's. At least we got to see what Boba is for about 5 seconds, and then it was just. But anyway, okay. I think that's it, boys and girls. If you've stuck to the end, you're a better man than me. So well done, boys and girls. Are we going to cover it next week? If we do, it's just going to be the slides, unless if we get a big guest. Critical Drinker has promised to pop on before the end, but I don't even think he could save it. So I would just say then to the chat, thank you, boys and girls. We are truly nothing without your interaction. I will thank the guests. Mega Geek, thank you.
Cheers. Thanks.
Thank you for taking one for the team. Appreciate that, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know, mate. I know. I appreciate it anyway. Z, cheers, pal.
Always a pleasure, Brown.
Not Brian. Thank you, and I really do appreciate you doing the production this week, mate. Cheers.
You're very welcome. Thanks, Brun. Thanks, Ian. Thanks, Z. Thanks again, Lost Chord. And thanks to the chat, especially Cam, who has just turned up at the death.
Hello, Cam. And last but by no means least, the poshest boy on YouTube on a Wednesday. Lost Chord. Cheers, pal.
Thank you very much. And thank you to Brian for putting more care into the production than the creators of this
Top
series
man.
put into it.
Yeah.
Says it all.
That's it, boys and girls. We are back on Saturday discussing Sean Connery Outland 1981, which is not a bad film. Yeah.
Yes.
So we'll see you then. Take care, everybody. Tatty bye.